calling ambulo luku. With whatever we do, Dion is afunola. With whatever we do, haleyi demunyu skula. Nyepamne ne kudlukula. Nyepangi ragala gena. Nyepamne ne kudlukula. Ibuloke numoto ni beti sola. Ibuloke dato ni betoto.
Bigi Congo.
Lamin.
Na?
Lamin ka jiwe norin te nyame Lamin.
Kabo na ulo kono.
Ulo kono nyinte mo Lamin.
Pabilenki.
Muna ngata afamole.
Haina.
Ngata. Ngoto le. Fabrama.
Mingi. Baba nyola.
Ngoto le Fabrama.
Namu jumara kan kuma diten.
Fabrama.
Jumara mu.
Ndele bare muso.
Nunda mana.
Kata.
Jamani mbere.
Lindo ko.
Jamani.
Ngoto man kontande.
Bari jamani fana na ramu do kontan.
Ngoto minaka ngala min je fon filita la min jibe nori nyala.
Lamin ko ila siran sama ne benki. Yala so dol sayni no ko ngol ko momo.
Ngoto.
Nam.
Iterinte yalo ne Lamin hakkilo diata bake karamungot. Anu santen ministry ko di ngole si suko na amake ko do holi de
si bitun
bagona de
ala ni ko kede namo balo
ala na ko na karta bulo be dam ala ni je
ngodo
nam
ngoto mon kontan fere
jamani mu ne keda
ifika Lamin ki wulo ko no nyintay mon ko do fete malo Lamin nyande sila la be la moy kala karam
jamani karam mo be sorande ne ko fasi ka wulo ko no ko
baba
karam mo ma ni ko karam mo sorande amake ko holiday lem ngodo dindi wonyanta sila la ala karangola mo yamen kamen fue man kontan anda mande
alla min kombo courant adanda la kombo ndo la jankara mol soronda doro kamen courant ma rado la kombo e don dol fanena karam mol soronda karam mol soron Lamin ada lo nyino la man dara fena sokon ala mu nekela
Lamin ide fede malon ko lesinol be ke kar radio to
nga fine
e ko yaari mo Lamin
nga fine
yamu na fonye
bi kabin mina kan tambita nteri maning Fatu ndambide la sukara ala dinngol bebe siri be la moyka
faru dan so amana tambira jele ni subala la ngaje dinngol be jet talanta nen kili waro e be seri jelet
sa Lamin farante ku kili wo keno la ba Lamin bita ka wulo ko no nyinta mo arami
amandara fenela
ite dine ko di man si yakari la sino la moy radio to e balon na
mo ne ka ke afende ba nyaara ni alon
kelentel jikot
afende ba mo de be ke
ite balontel be jikritel ni man karambe ku kele yaje nata karana mbasa mala ya itarije
par ñarande kombo courant ho findira kombo ide nara yede ni sonka bay ko Lamin manya tala wulo ko karam mo be so dafa ne membe
ko to wole nati bayo ngalle ni Lamin kuntala kombo courant e ka fa me kombo courant asototal wala kinay ko e sisu kono bari ni ko e sisu kono be karangol dike la radio ni telel to hani tele masoto to nyaay man tele soto da bongo bar radio be bulen koto batiri sanga ay si ay alama
sa do kala nyaadi
ko ta yo bulaji
ado kala nyaadi
kamun ke nyaadi
radio abo la mo la be mona falaje
ibe la karandirol kala jele
ti talle be radio ko men ka karam
ile subject ro baby jele baby jele
wala nan ka coco moy fa dan so wala ngombe tambi ka nga dinni ngol de be ikadum bu ko de kala
ma asototal de
Lamin mala be karawala de
bari laftalal ideal on ko inde every year second wala fourth
mo ne ni ko di ha ko nde ko folle sinila ba ndele sinilo ne ba
mbasa mba foke en koto wole fango ye wulindi yalo famo keta bat yin fana bulata ko do me yen nati jambi Lamin nyanta karana ndel be jiko be nyineka ya bula kara wulo kana ta kilar ya bambalo yo be bula je koto dinni ngoy si ayala le sino la moy radio
wala ka munda karam mo man soro Lamin nyana kara si so na
radio la sila le ayala le sino
dal ko korno ko smolo
kilar ya
mo be ngala ko mo sa mi do ni ko kara
nengi bruzo
am ne ko ro la ba rosa no radio ba no bari woro radio ni abe je le ba ngamra do man be buljan dala nyara nyar ro ko fendi mo la Lamin tayra ba rosa
bara ke ku folo ajibe nori nya labi tamete
teku
bari ko do famo ke
imagine nani nyambol si zol le keje kisigi man si zol no le kabun ka nyoma bari nyambu kilo ni manya na kafinde ni nambe ko zol la ga
ngalle limbeta de be nyambo do dilanna
nyara ni ko ridin fennat nyara nata
bari famo ke da
nata bungono tabi bungono nyara ngando ko fele ko ke de baru nganda ni pelo la ndija
iyo awa
la bungono bismillah bisu diara
pendulala ye fongo tanka sina dulu tanka koro ta koro
Hello viewers and listeners, welcome yet to another lesson on mathematics for the upper basic level. Now we're going to continue from where we stopped the last time. Remember, we are still on using equations to solve word problems. Before I left the last time, I gave you an assignment to keep you busy, and I hope you have gone through the assignment. Now, before we go on to today's lesson, we are going to try and do the corrections for that assignment. It was only 2 questions, right? So now let's look at them. Number 1 was, when 7 is multiplied by a number, the result is the same as subtracting 10 from 5 times the number. Find the number. Now, if you did the same way as before, we first start by saying, because we don't know the number, so let the number be, let's say, x. All right? Now we know our number is x. Now let's see what we are told after that. We are told that 7 is multiplied by that number. So we take 7 and multiply it by x. All right? And we are told that the result was equal to, after doing that, what do we have? The result is the same as subtracting 10 from 5 times the number, which means from 5 times the number you subtract 10. That should be written as 5 times the number x, and then from that product you subtract the 10. So now let's simplify this further. 7 times x we know is 7x, being equal to 5 times x also gives us 5x minus 10. So now what we have is 7x is equal to 5x minus 10. Now you want to solve for x, which means you want to isolate x. But there are 2 x's and they appear on both sides of the equation. So therefore we need to undo one of them. The last time I said it does not matter which one you undo, but of course it is easier to undo the smaller one. So 5x is smaller than 7x, so we're going to undo the 5x. That 5x is positive and the inverse for positive is negative. So we're going to subtract 5x from both sides. So minus 5x minus 5x. And let's see what happens is, this 5x's will cancel out from the right hand side rather. And then what you have on the left hand side is 7x minus 5x, and that should give us 2x, being equal to, on the right hand side you are now left with negative 10. Then from there we just divide both sides by 2, so over 2 over 2, and 2 will cancel out 2. So therefore what we have is x being equal to 2 into itself. Once 2 goes into negative 10 would be negative 5. So the answer for number 1 should have been x is equals to negative 5. I hope that was what you got. Then we look at number 2. Says when 5 is added to 3 times a number, the result is the same as adding 13 to the number. Find the number. So this time we are adding 5 to 3 times a particular number. Again, the number we don't know. So we can use a variable to represent that number since we don't know it. We can drop this since we are done with this now. So number 2, when 5 is added to 3 times a number, the result is the same as adding 13 to the number. Find the number. Now this time we know that 5 is added to 3 times a number, but the number we don't know its value. So we can use a variable to represent it. So you could say, let number be y. So if our number is y, and we know that 5 is added to 3 times that number, that means you add 5 to 3 times our number y. Okay? Now after doing that, the result is the same as adding 13 to the number. That means this is equal to adding 13 to the number. Now this is what you have. All you do now from here is just simplify this. This should give us 5 plus 3 times y is 3y is equals to 13 plus y. Again, you are trying to isolate y, but y is appearing on both sides of the equations, so therefore you need to undo one of the y's. And like I said before, it is always easier to undo the smaller one. So we're going to undo the y from both sides. So subtract y from both sides, and then those y's will cancel each other out from the right hand side. And now on the left hand side, what you have is 5 is still there, and then 3y minus y should give us 2y, and that is equal to 13. Right. From here, remember you are trying to isolate the y, but this 5 is still there, so therefore you need to undo that 5, and that 5 is a positive 5, so therefore you subtract 5 from both sides. So minus 5 from the left hand side, minus 5 from the right hand side, and then this 5 will cancel each other out, and now you have 2y is equals to 13 minus 5 should give us 8. Okay, now we need a bit more space there. So let's see. You have 2y equals to 8. To find y from there, you just divide both sides by 2. So if you divide both sides by 2, the 2's will cancel each other out from the left hand side, and then you have y there being equals to 2 into 2 will be 1s, and 2 into 8 should give us 4 times. So the answer to our assignment number 2 should have been 4. Okay. Then we can now move along to our today's lesson. We are still on using equations to solve word problems, all right? Now here is an example. Fatu is twice as old as Kasim. If the sum of their ages is 39 years, find the age of each. Okay? Fatu is twice as old as Kasim. If the sum of their ages is 39 years, find the age of each. Now here we have two people, Fatu and Kasim. We don't know their ages, but what we know is that if you add their two ages, you should get 39. But also we know that Fatu's age is being given in reference to Kasim. All right? So because Fatu's age is given in reference to Kasim, we are going to start with Kasim. All right? Because Kasim is our reference point here. So we can start by saying, let Kasim's age be X. That is because Fatu's age is being given in reference to Kasim. All right? So therefore we start with Kasim. So if we assume Kasim's age to be X, and we are told that Fatu is twice as old as Kasim, twice means 2 times, which means whatever Kasim's age is, Fatu is 2 times that. All right? So since Kasim is X, therefore Fatu would be 2 times X. All right? So therefore Fatu would be 2 times X, and that gives you 2X. Okay. So we have Kasim is X years old now. Fatu is 2X. All right? what are we told? We are told that the sum of their ages is 39, which means if you add Kasim's age plus Fatu's age, you should get 39. So we know Kasim is x, we know Fatu is 2x, so therefore, let's try to add them. We need more space for that. Kasim is x years old plus Fatu is 2x years old. And if you add their two ages, you get 39. That is now our equation. And of course, now we are comfortable with solving equations. Now, x plus 2x, we know x is the same as 1x. So therefore, if you add 1x plus 2x, you will get 3x being equals to 39. Now, from there, all you do is divide both sides by 3. So divide the left-hand side by 3 and also divide the right-hand side by 3. And the 3's will cancel each other out from the left-hand side. So you get x as 3 into itself once, 3 into 39 would be 13 times. So now we know the value for x is 13. But remember, the question is asking for the age of each person, all right? So therefore, we need to state the age of Kasim, and also we need to state the age of Fatu. But we know that Kasim is x years old, and now we have found x to be 13. So it means Kasim is actually 13 years old. So let's find more space for that. Extend the page and get a bit more space to write on. So therefore we know Kasim is just 13 years old. How do we know that? We know that Kasim is 13 because Kasim's age was x, and x we have found out to be 13, all right? And Fatu, we know Fatu's age was twice of Kasim's age, so Fatu was 2x. X we know now is 13, so therefore Fatu will be 2 times 13, all right? And if you multiply 2 times 13 properly, that should give us 26 years. So Fatu is 26 years old. So from there, we know now Kasim is 13 years old and Fatu is 26 years old. If you want to prove that, if you add 13 plus 26, that should give you 39, because we were told that the sum of their ages was 39 years. Right, so we go on to example number 2. It says Lamin is 5 years older than Fatu. If the sum of their ages is 17, find the age of each. Now yet again we have two people whose age we don't know. But what we know is that if you add their two ages, you should get 17. That is what we know from the question. But again, if you read carefully, it says Lamin is 5 years older than Fatu. So Lamin's age is given in reference to Fatu. So therefore, you start from Fatu and say, let Fatu's age be, let's say, M. Let's use M to represent Fatu's age. Now, what we know is that Lamin is 5 years older. You should be careful that the word is older. Older means plus, all right? So therefore, Lamin would be M plus 5 years old, because he is 5 years older, which means whatever Fatu's age is, Lamin is 5 years plus that. So therefore, Lamin is M plus 5. Now also we know that if you add their ages, that is, if you add Fatu's age and Lamin's age, you get 17. So let's add and see. Fatu is M years old, and Lamin is M plus 5. And when you add those two, you should get 17. Okay? Now that is what we have as an equation now. m being Fatu's age plus m plus 5 being Lamin's age, and if you add those two, you get 17 as your answer. So all we do now is just solve this, right? And we can solve this first by combining the like terms. We know m plus m is the same as saying 1m plus 1m, and that should give us 2m plus 5 is equal to 17. We are trying to isolate the m, so therefore first we need to undo the 5, of course. So therefore we subtract 5 from both sides, minus 5, minus 5, and the 5s will then cancel each other out from that end. And what you now have left on the left hand side is just the 2m, and that is equal to 17 minus 5 should give us 12. Now from there, if you want to find the value for m, you just divide both sides by 2. So over 2 over 2. So that 2 will cancel out 2. Okay. What we have is, we need more space on this. Okay. So m is equals to 2 into 2 is 1s, and 2 can go into 12 6 times. So m is 6. But remember, whose age was m? It was Fatu. So therefore we know Fatu is 6 years old. So I can say Fatu is 6 years old, right? That is Fatu's age. And also we knew that Lamin was 5 years old. That is why we had Lamin as m plus 5. Okay? But of course now we know the value for m, so we're going to put 6 in place of m. And therefore that gives us Lamin's age being 6 plus 5. And 6 plus 5 will give us 11 years. So therefore, Lamin is 11 years old. Okay? So Fatu is 6 years old, and Lamin is 11 years old. Again, as a proof, if you add 6 plus 11, that should give us 17. Okay. Now we move on to our next example. Example number 3. Ibrahima's age is 1 more than twice Lamin's age. If the sum of their ages is 34, find the age of each. Ibrahima's age is 1 more than twice Lamin's age. If the sum of their ages is 34, find the age of each. Again, just like before, we have two people whose age we don't know, but what we know is if you add their ages, you get 34. But also, we know that Ibrahima's age is 1 more than twice Lamin's age. So Ibrahima's age is being given in reference to Lamin's age. So therefore, we start with Lamin. So we start by saying, let Lamin's age be, let's say, x. Okay? So if Lamin is x years old, and we know Ibrahima is 1 more than twice Lamin's age, alright? So therefore, Ibrahima would be 1 more than. Remember, more than means addition. So that can be 1 plus twice Lamin's age. Twice is 2 times. And that is 2 times Lamin's age. And remember, Lamin's age has been given as x. Okay? Let's look for more space on this. So, if you simplify this further, what you have is, you get this as 1 plus 2x. That will be Ibrahima's age, 1 plus 2x. That is 1 more than Lamin's age. Also, we know that if you add their ages, you should get 34. That means Lamin's age plus Ibrahima's age should be equals to 34. So now that we know that Lamin's age is x and Ibrahima's age is 1 plus 2x, and remember we know if you add their ages, that is Lamin's age plus Ibrahima's age should give us 34. So let's add that. Lamin's age, which is x, plus Ibrahima's age, which is 1 plus 2x, all of that should give us 34. Okay? So all we do from here now is just to solve this. Of course, we know that x and 2x are like terms, so we can add them. And if you add x plus 2x, that should give us 3x plus the 1 being equals to 34. Right. If you continue on this, we have 3x plus 1 is equal to 34. If you want to solve this first, we need to undo the 1. And the 1 is positive. So therefore, we subtract 1 from both sides. So minus 1 from the left-hand side and minus 1 from the right-hand side. And these ones will cancel each other out. And what you have here now is 3x being equals to 34 minus 1 should give us 33. And from there, if you want to find the value for x, just divide both sides by 3. So, over 3, 3 will cancel out 3, and therefore we have x as 3 into 33 would be 11 times. So x is 11. But remember, who was x years old? Let's just remind ourselves. It was Lamin who was x years old. So now we know Lamin is going to be 11 years old. Okay? So, Lamin, we now know, is 11 years old. Alright? And Ibrahima, we know, was 1 more than twice Lamin's age. So that was why we had Ibrahima as 1 plus 2x. Of course, we know the value for x now. It is 11. So we're going to put 11 in place of x. And that gives us 1 plus 2 times 11. And if you go through that, simplifying further, you'll have 1 plus 2 times 11 should give us 22. And 1 plus 22 should give us 23 years. So therefore, Ibrahima is 23 years old and Lamin is 11 years old. And again, as a proof, if you add those two ages, it gives you 34. Now we still move along. This one says Aisatu's age is half of Modu's age. If the sum of their ages is 30, find the age of each. Okay? Aisatu's age is half of Modu's age. If the sum of their ages is 30, find the age of each. And yet again we have two people whose age we don't know. But we also know that if you add their ages, you get 30 years. But also, if you read carefully, we are told that Aisatu's age is half of Modu's age. So Aisatu's age is given in reference to Modu's age. So therefore, we start from Modu. So let Modu's age be a variable. So we can say, let Modu's age be, let's say, x. Now, if Modu is x years old, and we are told Aisatu's age is half of Modu's age. So therefore, Aisatu would be half times Modu's age. half of, all right? Half is 1 over 2. And if you simplify that, that should give you x over 2. So therefore, modu is x years old, and isatu is x over 2 years old, because isatu is half of modus age. Now what are we told? We are told that if you add their ages, you get 30. That means modus age plus isatu's age should give you 30. Modu is x years old, plus isatu, who is x over 2, all of that should give us 30. Right. Now, what you see here is that there is a fraction involved. Now, whenever there is a fraction, it is always easier to get rid of the fraction. That means to eliminate the denominator, which is easy. Just multiply each term here by the denominator, which is 2. So multiply the x by 2, so you'll have 2 times x plus multiply 2 by the x over 2 also, so you have 2 times x over 2 is equals to 2 times 30. Multiply each term in the equation by the denominator, so that now 2 will cancel out 2 on this side, and what you have is 2 times x, and that should give us 2x plus x, because these 2's have already cancelled each other out. And all of that should be equals to 2 times 30 should give us 60. Okay, so once we multiplied each term in the equation by the denominator, you now end up having 2x, because 2 times x is 2x, plus, of course, the 2's have cancelled each other out there, so you have x there, and then 2 times 30 is 60. Of course, 2x plus x should give us 3x being equal to 60. From there, if you want to find the value for x, simply divide both sides by 3. So over 3 over 3, and then these 3's will cancel each other out. So you have x now being equals to 3 into itself once, 3 into 60 should be 20 times. So x is 20, all right? Now, who was x years old? It was modu, and I said it was half of that. So therefore, now we know that modu is 20 years old, all right? And isatu was half of that. So isatu would be half times modus age, that's half of 20. And here you can have 2 into 2 once, 2 into 20 would be 10 times. So therefore isatu was 10 years old. So modu is 20 and isatu is 10. Again, if you add 20 plus 10, you get 30. All right, now we move on to our last example. It says, Buba is 6 years older than his sister Mariama. If the sum of their ages is 42, find the age of each. Now, just like before, we have two people whose age we don't know. But what we do know is that if you add their ages, you get 42. So Buba's age plus Mariama's age should give us 42. Also, if you read the question very carefully, it says Buba is 6 years older than his sister Mariama. So Buba's age is given in reference to Mariama. So therefore, we start from Mariama. All right? So therefore, you can start by saying, let's say a solution on that. Let Mariama's age be, let's say, x. All right? Now, what we know is that Buba is 6 years older. The key word there being older. And older in this case here is addition. So, which means whatever Mariama's age is, Buba is 6 years plus that. So, therefore, we know Mariama is x. So, therefore, Buba would be x plus 6. So Mariama is x years old, and Buba is x plus 6 years old. Now from there again, we know if you add those two ages, you get 42, meaning Mariama's age plus Buba's age is equal to 42. So let's add that and see Mariama, who is x years old, plus Buba, who is x plus 6. And if you add those two, you get 42 as your answer. That is the sum total of their ages. So from here now, we just simplify and solve. We know x plus x is going to give us 2x. Plus 6 is equal to 42. Now we need to solve this, which means we need to isolate the x. So therefore, we need to undo the 6. The 6 is positive, so therefore we subtract 6 from both sides of the equation. So minus 6 on the left-hand side, minus 6 from the right-hand side. And what happens is, the 6's will cancel each other out from the left-hand side. And what you are left with there is now 2x only. And on the right-hand side, you have 42 minus 6, and that should give us 36. From there, if you want to find the value for x, we simply divide both sides by 2. So over 2, so that 2 will cancel each other out, and x is equal to 2 into 2 will be 1s, and 2 into 36 would be 18 times. So x is 18. Now, but if you go back, who was x years old? X years old was Buba or Mariama. Mariama was x years old, and Buba was x plus 6. All right? So we're going to use that to answer our question now. So we scroll up again and write that. So therefore, Mariama, because Mariama was x, and x is 18, so Mariama is 18 years old. There. And Buba, we know, was 6 years older. So therefore, Buba, from there, we knew Buba was actually x plus 6. But x now is 18. So you put 18 in place of x, that gives you 18 plus 6. And if you add those two numbers, you should get 24 years. So therefore, Buba is 24 years old, and Mariama is 18 years old. As a proof, if you add those two ages, they will give you 42 years. Okay? So now, before I leave you, I'm going to leave you with an assignment to try and keep yourself busy with. And there are just two questions. Number one, Kadi is 3 times as old as Ibrahima. If the sum of their ages is 48, find the age of each. Again, number one says, Kadi is 3 times as old as Ibrahima. If the sum of their ages is 48 rather, find the age of each. Then number 2, Abdu is 9 years older than Bambo. If the sum of their ages is 59, find the age of each. Abdu is 9 years older than Bambo. If the sum of their ages is 59, find the age of this. Find the age of each rather. I'm going to leave you with that. Try it to keep yourself busy. And then when we meet again, we will do the questions together. In the meantime, try to stay safe. Thank you.
Have your say.
Fellow Gambians,